Hello. This will be a kind of instructional video for this game called Escape from Innsmouth. I'm not going to explain every detail, but I'm going to explain the most important details because there is already like a rule book online. The only thing that you need to know is how to set up the game, the phases of the game, and how the monsters are moved, because that's the most important stuff in Innsmouth. If you like manage to understand how to move monsters correctly, the rest is really easy because this game is not that complicated. And also I'm going to explain some like little details that might not be explained in the rule book. So first of all, let's explain the map in details. The map is consistent of these blocks. The block is a little area surrounded by these points and streets. Okay, so this is the block. Each block of the same color forms a district. So these 4 blocks, including this building here, these white blocks are, let's see what, it's a town center district. Okay, so first to understand that. Block, district, points, streets. Bridges are also considered as blocks, so you can move on to them as on any other blocks. There is a bus station which comes into play in basically in the end of the game when you manage to solve the mysteries. And there is what else? We have a Doom truck here, we have Omen truck, we have General Store, which represents this building here. Okay, if you're buying something, you have to be on the General Store. Now these buildings will be as starting locations for your investigators, and this is where you're gonna place cultists. Now the buildings have a rule. You can't have 2 investigators or a cultist and investigators on the same spot unless you're gonna attack them. So it is not possible to place 2 investigators in the same building. All right. Besides that, let's do the setup. It's quite simple. Depending on the number of players, you're gonna set Doom. If you're playing with only 1 player, Doom will start on 16, so you will have the most time because Doom advances towards 0. When it gets to 0, if you finish your mysteries and escapes, well, you're gonna win the game. If not, you're gonna lose the game. So 1 player is 16 Doom, 2 players is 12 Doom, and 3 to 4 players you start with 8 Doom. So you have the least amount of time with most players, but that's because each player has like 3 actions per turn. So the more players, more actions, so you can do more stuff, therefore less time. All right, this is the wound deck. These 3 cards, the 3 types of cards: standard wounds, death, and elder sign. These are called death cards. You're always gonna form a deck of 12 cards depending on the difficulty. Now it is written here in the rule book. Let me show you. Actually, it's not open right now, but how you do that, like you have easy, medium, hard, and insane difficulty. On easy difficulty, you use all the wounds, only 1 death card, and 3 of these elder sign, which will form a deck with 12 cards. On medium difficulty, again, all 8 wounds, 2 death cards, 2 elder sign. On hard, you have all 8 wounds, but 3 death cards and only 1 elder sign. When you pull these wounds from a deck, this is a standard wound. Your character can receive wounds. There is like health on each character. If you get equal or exceed that, you die. So standard wounds can be healed. When you pull at that, your character will immediately die. Okay, and when you pull the elder sign, you will not get a wound, and you will get a focus if you don't already have a focus. Okay, because you can only carry 1 focus. Important thing. So that's how these elder sign. Insane difficulty, again, it's going to be 12 cards, but you use only 6 wounds, all 4 death cards, and 2 elder signs. So it is less wounds, more death, and kind of, you know, only 2 chances you're gonna, you know, dodge the bullet. Depending on the number of players, also depends how many monsters will be, and how, depending on the difficulty, also how many dread you're gonna start with. You place the dread here on the center of the omen track. It's like these cubes. So for the easy and medium game, you always start with 1 dread. For hard and insane, you always start with 2 dread. This omen token always starts here in this terror icon, that's how I call it. And it always moves clockwise unless some effects allows you to move it counterclockwise. What else? General store. So when you're doing setup, it is fill from right to left, so like this, right? And when you fill it, whenever you remove some cards, the new cards will push everything toward the right. So let's say we have something like this. And you always put these +1, that's basically the price of the items. Everything costs 1 cash token, but these 2 always cost a bit more. So let's say something discards this card, it always go to the discard pile, you can keep it close by. Everything pushes to the right, like this. So when you discard something, everything is going to be pushed toward the right. First 2 cards will probably get pushed and they will be cheaper to buy. Alright, about the spells, because that's a major question, like this spell here. It says discard 2 clues of any color to move your investigator into a block of any district. Each of these spell cards, be them here as items or be them here in the tome section, like you can also find them here, can be used once per turn, which means after you use it, you flip it. And then during the upkeep phase, you're gonna get it back. Unless stated otherwise on the card, that's how all they work. Also, these pluses, bonuses you get, they do not stack. If something's give me like +1 to strength and I have another item, they will not stack. I have to choose either I'm going to use a baseball bat or I'm going to use, I don't know, let's see what kind of other items, or maybe a shotgun. I have to choose between these 2. It's not +3 to my strength. Also, some weapons, well, actually all fire weapons comes with the charges. You can actually see here on the bottom of the card. You put 2 little cubes to follow the charges. And how they work, you spend a charge to get this bonus. They don't give you constant bonus. These ones do. But if it has charges, once it's empty, you have to, you know, use some ammunition to, you know, get those charges back, and then you can use your firearms again. All right. So in a way, baseball bat is maybe much better option, but it's only +1 to the strength. About the strength and all other skills. So you have to roll equal or lower. If you exceed, you fail. Okay. So strength of 7 is quite good because I'm gonna pass on anything from 1 to 7, and I roll a d10. So 8, 9, and 10 is basically failure for me. But if I have a baseball bat, now my strength is 8 and I only fail on 9 on 10. Passive abilities are always active for all the investigators. They all have these little passive things that activate if something else happens. Like every time they destroy cultists, gain 2 clues of your choice. Pretty good. So if you kill 2 cultists during your turn, well, you're gonna get 4 clues. You probably want this guy to go around and kill cultists. Little suitcase icon is how many cards you can carry. Doesn't really matter what kind of cards, could be items, spells, whatever. These artifacts, stone, witnesses, but the 5 is the limit. So if you get a 6th one, you have to discard 1. And this little health here is how many wounds you can take before you die. 3 or more, this policeman is dead. All right. So when you set up the game, as I said, depending on the number of players, I'm not going to go into details, but there will be every space, I mean every block will be filled with these mystery tokens. They go face down like this, including the bridges. So you're going to fill all of this. During the game, they will, as you pick them up using your actions, they will disappear. Of course, they go to discard, they go out of the bag, and they're going to be placed nearby. Now you can get them back, but only through these event cards. Okay, event cards have the effect, it's going to affect the game. Like this says, discard all cards from the general store. It is not refilled until the end of the next upkeep phase. But here on the bottom, it will tell you where to put these discovery tokens. Esoteric Order of Dagon. So you check that district. Esoteric Order of Dagon district is the purple one. So you will check. By the way, these doesn't go on the buildings. Okay, only on top blocks. So if there are no discovery tokens here, you're gonna place them back. If there is one, you're just gonna fill the second one. That's how it works. That's how you get more discovery tokens. There is another way to get discovery tokens, and that's when all of them are removed from the map. If you don't have any discovery tokens, during the upkeep phase, you can choose one district of your choice and fill it up with the discovery tokens again. Okay, but only when there is none on the map. Let's talk about the game phases. So we have the investigator phase, where you can do up to 3 actions. Monster phase, when the monster is gonna move and they're gonna probably try to block you up. You'll see how that works. I'm gonna do some examples. Dread phase, when depending on the number of dread you have here, you're gonna check this table and you're gonna do some effects. And the Omen phase, which you're gonna roll a d6 and this will move around and you're gonna get an effect. Investigator phase is quite simple. Starting from the lead investigator, you can choose the lead investigator and the start of each turn, which will kind of change how the game works. I mean, from the lead investigator and left in the clockwise order, all other players gonna play their turn, so you can kind of change the turn order a bit if someone has to do something before you. Everybody gonna do up to 3 actions. Those actions are moving up to 3 spaces. Let's say I'm standing here. I can move up to 3 blocks or over these buildings or over the bridges, as long it is orthogonal movement. So I can't do this. This is like diagonal, okay? So I have to go to adjacent orthogonal block. So I can move 1, 2, 3. But I cannot move 1, 2, 3. So no diagonal movement. Just go to the adjacent, crossing the street, not crossing the points. Okay, so you're basically crossing a street to move into the block. Movement you can do multiple times. There are some actions that are limited, like for instance focus action. Focus action is getting the focus. You can do that only once per turn. And you can carry only 1 focus token. So if you get another one, you have to discard one. If by any chance you get another one. You can also spend a focus to reroll a die you just rolled. That's what focus is for. And there are some cards that tells you if you have a focus, you can spend it to do something effect on the card. You can attack enemies, and enemies have to, if I'm in this block, any enemy that is adjacent, basically you can see points around me over that block, is adjacent to my block and I can attack it. So if something's standing here, I can attack that. If there is a cultist, cultists are usually in building, I actually have to move in and attack. And then depending of my attack, attack is simple, you're testing strength. Roll for a strength, d10. If you pass, it is dead. If you fail, it's gonna hit you. So whatever I attack, there are 3 types of monsters. There are hybrids, deep ones, and cultists. Hybrids and deep ones are using point-to-point movement, basically moving from one street to another point like this. Okay, and hybrids do also. Cultists do not move. They stand on the building until they are destroyed. So if I want to kill the cultist, I have to move in and use the second action to attack. If it's my last action and I move in without possibility to attack, well, that would be a stupid action, because the cultist then will hit me, because he will always hit you unless you kill him. Okay, so let's say I want to kill the cultist, and let's say I have this baseball bat. You take a d10, roll. I need what? I need 8 or more. Yeah, I got sorry, I need 8 or less. So I got a 3. Damn it, I fail. I passed. Sorry, I need to remember that it's always lower or equal than your current strength. So I passed, because if you exceed, you basically fail. And I killed the cultist. But if I failed, the cultist is gonna hit me. What will happen? I will have to draw one of these wound cards, which will be face down and shuffled. So I don't know which I'm gonna draw. And I also have to add 1 dread here. Okay. If I'm attacking hybrid, because all of these monsters have different types of damage. If I'm attacking hybrid and I didn't manage to kill him, I'm gonna take 1 wound and I'm gonna lose 1 clue. If I have any. If I don't have any, nothing happens. I still take a wound though. If I'm attacking a hybrid, deep one, and fail, I will take 2 wounds, because deep ones are much stronger. So that's how it works, fighting, attacking stuff. You can also trade with other investigators, but we need to be in the same block, not in the same building, because if you remember the rule, this is not possible. And by the way, if I attack the cultist and fail, I will automatically move into one of these blocks freely. I can choose which one. I'm retreating. So I try to kill the cultist, I fail, I can move here. Okay. So trading is, we need to be in the same block, like this. We can trade any number of clues and cards, as long as we can carry them, because remember, there is a limited number you can carry. At least cards, clues are unlimited. I can carry any number of clues. They do not count as, into the items or cards you're carrying. Another action I can do, I can pick up discovery. So if I'm standing here, I can spend an action and pick this up. Basically, I flip it and check what I get. Usually it's clues, but sometimes you're gonna get tomes and so on. This icon here means it's an item. See, blue one, like a little crate open up with items. I would draw the first item from the top, and that's what I get. You can get cash, you can get clues in different colors. Sometimes it is like a white. Let me see. So this will give me purple clue. This will give me tome, in which case I would draw 1 tome. Tomes, as I said, some of them are just spells. Some of them actually can give you clues, but you have to investigate it. So if you found these kind of cards, and there are artifacts also that looks like that, here it is, and witnesses. So on the top is where you have to go, on which building you have to go. Basically it's like pick and deliver, and then do some action also after you pick and deliver. So witnesses, this guy I have to get to church with him. So he's basically, you take a card and he goes like into my inventory, although he's like NPC. I have to go to church, and to get these items here, clues and curio, I have to I have to do investigate action, and that's what last skill here. So you roll, if you pass, you get it. Okay, simple as that. If I fail, witness escapes, and all these cards actually go on the bottom of the deck, and we add 1 red here. Another thing about the witnesses is, if they are with you and you get attacked, they will automatically die. You will still get the wounds, but they also die. You lose them, or they get scared, I don't know. And you add dread here. So witnesses, when you with you and you don't manage to investigate them, and you don't manage, or they get killed or escape, you know, under the stress, you always put a dread there. You don't put a dread for the artifacts and the tomes if you fail to investigate them. But artifact and tomes, they have like two banners, green and red. If you pass the investigation, I have to go to museum and pass the investigation test. This is what I get. If I fail, I get the bottom part. You will get some clues always, but it will be less amount and different colors. All right. And whenever you finish, like I investigate this, all these cards go to the bottom of the deck. Okay, because that's how they refresh. Some cards do not go to the bottom of the deck, or they do not get reshuffled. Like for instance, items. They go to discard. But if you, let's say something discards all the cards and you don't have any more to put into general store, you will not reshuffle them. You don't do that. Just no more items. Then these mysteries, which you have to place like this, also similar to items, they go to bottom to top, and they have these plus bonuses, which means additional clue in this case. Mysteries also go to discard and they do not reshuffle. So it can happen that you need to solve 2 mysteries per player to win the game. And also you need to escape on this pass station. I'll explain that a bit later. Anyway, if something happens that you don't have enough mysteries to continue the game, I mean to finish, it's a game over immediately. You can just stop and play maybe another game. But mysteries actually demands that you discard curio and all these clues if you have them. +1. This +1 means of any color. So any of these. If you see white, that's basically you can be replaced by any of these 3 colors. So it could be yellow, green, or purple. And when doing mysteries, it doesn't mean that each player have to do 2 mysteries. No, one player can do like 4 of them, but it is important that the sum of all mysteries is basically number of players, 2 per player. So with 2 players you need 4 mysteries, with 3 players you need 6. You can push this to 3 if you want to play a really hard game, but I do not recommend. I played the game like that and it's kind of impossible to win. So 2 mysteries per player I think is the most balanced you can do. Alright, so let's go back to the action. Sorry if I'm like jumping all around. Moving, trading. You can also buy stuff on the general store if you have money. Basically you buy stuff, you spend a cash token, get some of these items. You can buy multiple number of items if you have that much money. This does not refresh immediately, so you have to finish your buying and then it's gonna refresh. Attacking monsters, investigating, picking discovery tokens. You can also call a taxi. This is a taxi here. You need a cash. You spend 1 cash, you flip this token, and then you move anywhere on the map without the fear of the monsters. They just can't catch you. Because normally if the monster's standing like this, covering this street from both sides, you can't pass here. This is now impassable street. Okay, you are blocked from this side. But with the taxi, even if you are blocked from, I don't know, from all sides, from somewhere, well, it's not gonna happen during the investigator phase probably. But you just don't care. You just move wherever you want, on any block or any district you want. The thing is, this now there is no more taxi, so someone later on has to spend an action just to flip this token back. Okay, you don't have to spend any more money, but you have to just spend an action to get the taxi available. Before it would work, it was like flipping at the end of the upkeep phase, but I changed that rule. You actually have to, you know, call the taxi again. Someone's just gonna have to waste action to, you know, get this action available. And I think I'm not forgetting any more actions. Let me just check to be sure. So move, attack, discover, investigate, trade, call, taxi, focus, and use. Oh yeah, two more things. Using a card like a spell, let's see, like this one, it will cost an action. Okay. So using a card costs an action. Also, solving a spell costs an action. But spell, you can, mystery, solving a mystery costs an action. But you can only solve one mystery per turn. So if there are two players that can solve two mysteries that turn, you will have to decide which one's gonna solve the mystery, because it can be done only once per turn. So you have to wait for the other turn to be able to solve this other mystery. Once you solve the number of mysteries you need to solve, you have to escape. You have to move here to the bus station, and it is just like any other block. So you can get from here, you can get from here. No diagonal, as you know. So you move your character for one action, and you spend either one focus or one cash, and you escape the city. If, when all the mysteries that you need to solve are solved, at least one of the investigator dies, doesn't manage to escape, you still lose the game. So if something happens before you escape, you lose the game. But that's only if all the mysteries you manage, to solve, and you just now have to escape. So every investigator has to escape to finish the game as in a win condition. Alright, so after investigator do their three actions, there goes the monster phase. During the monster phase, you will have these hybrids all over the map. Let's put them more, maybe something like this, just to show you some examples. You will activate monsters by drawing these cards for hybrids and for the deep ones. You will always draw a card even if there are no monsters of the map. Why? Because some of these cards can actually spawn a hybrid. Let me show you those cards. So this is a card that can spawn another monster, and it shows you where. In the outskirts, it tells you district, and when you put in a new monster, outskirts, it's here, you want to put it to the closest to the investigator, looking at the number of points. So this is the closest point for this investigator, so you probably want to put him here. You can also put, because this is also closest, you can put him here. Now this is equally distance. If you can't decide, then there is a simple rule for that. If you have to move or spawn the monster to the closest investigator, first you check who has the most wounds. So if this guy has a wound, well, it's gonna go either here or here, right? If this guy has a wound, it's gonna go here or here. It's the closest to the point adjacent to his district. If they both have the same amount of wounds, then you check who has the most clues. Okay. If again they have the same amount of wounds and clues, then you check who has the less health. And if it's tied again, then you decide. But you'll probably, by that time, you're probably gonna resolve that pretty soon. And that's how also these monsters move. Now, after you draw the spawn card, it always surges, so you have to draw another card. Because the movement of the monster phase ends when you draw a card with a number. Be that a 0, 1 or 3, it doesn't really matter. 0, they will not move. In this case, every monster of this type will move 2 spaces toward the nearest investigator. So let's move them. Let me show you how that works. This hybrid here is already to the closest to the player. He will not move 2 spaces. This one here is equally distant from these 2 investigators. So you check who has the most wound, who has the most clues, who has the least amount of health. Let's say this guy lost, so he's gonna move here. Now, you probably wonder which one I'm gonna move first. I would suggest when moving the monster, first check the ones that will not move. Okay, so this will not move, and then take whatever you want first. Doesn't really matter. If I want to move this first, it's going to be simple. Who's the closest one? the blue guy, because 1, 2 to the red guy, so this goes here, and then I can move this. And every time you move the monster, flip it, so you know it is moved, so you don't forget. This one is equally distance. Let's say this guy has most clues, it's gonna go here, and it flips. After you move all the hybrids, you draw for the deep ones. Deep one's gonna go 4. Again, who's the closest guy? We're checking right now. 1, 2. Okay. Again, you're looking for the closest and fastest way to get to the investigator. He can go 1, 2, 3 like this, but it's not the fastest way, right? This is the closest point looking like this. Only 2 spaces to get there. And monsters prefer to move and push other monsters and get adjacent to other monsters. Why? You'll see why. This guy is gonna move 4 right now. This is the closest spot for this guy. It's gonna go move 1. It's gonna move 2 because it's gonna push the other monsters in the direction in which it's walking. This deep one is walking. You flip it, and now we have a problem. Why? Because there is a rule when you have only one spot not occupied with a monster, or if they're all 4 spots, that's even worse. But let's resolve this. After all monsters move, now cultists do not move, they're just gonna stay. You don't have any cards for the cultists, they do actually some other effects. This investigator is in big trouble, because if your block where you are standing has only one point that is not filled with the monsters, all these other monsters gonna attack you, and you're gonna have to test strength. If you fail, they will hit you. So let's say it was not a policeman, let's say it was this lady here, medium, 4 strength. I need 1 to 4. I rolled a 6, too bad for me, I failed. Okay, so which of these monsters gonna hit me? You always look for the monsters or monster of the worst type. I mean, one type above. Hybrids are below deep ones, so you check deep ones actually is gonna be the one to hit me. If there was something like this, well then hybrid is gonna hit me. I would have to draw 2 wounds, and that's that. Okay, and then I will have probably be in trouble because, as you know, 2 monsters like this adjacent are blocking my movement here, blocking my movement here, and I have to pass. Oh, I totally forgot. When you have to pass through the street that is watched by these monsters. Okay, when the monster is standing here, it's looking all these streets around, all adjacent streets. So when I have to pass, I have to roll for my awareness. If I fail, the monster will hit me, but I will pass. I will not go back. I will move over the street, but I will get hit. I think that's how I played the last time. Yeah, they don't stop your movement. You just get hit. Again, you get hit by the monster which is looking the street. So if I'm passing here, I'm gonna get hit by the hybrid. If I'm passing here, I mean deep one, if I'm passing here, I'm gonna hit by the hybrid. Okay, if something like this happened, there is no role for any strength to, you know, fight the monsters. You investigator just dies immediately. And this is only resolved during the monster phase, because that's when they actually can attack you and you have to fight back. Alright, so let's do some more examples. Let's do something like this. Let's move the hybrids first. They're all gonna move 2. This guy, let's say the lady already had a wound, he goes here. This guy, the closest spot is here, so he can go 1, 2 or 1, 2. I would suggest you move the closest one first and these ones that are like farthest away second. So this guy is gonna go 1, 2, he's gonna move there. He's the closest one. Now this guy here, he can move 1, 2 3 to this spot, or 1, 2, 3. Equally distant, but we said this lady has most wounds, so he'll go 1, 2. You're trying to get here. Then you count again. This guy, 1, 2, 3. It's too far to the red, so he will go 1, 2. Now they always want to move toward also other monsters. I could do this 1, 2, but they prefer to push other monsters, because as they push them in the direction of their movement. They follow basically other monsters. So if you have something like this where I can go 1, 2, or 1, or actually let me check, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, yeah, it's equally distant. They will probably move like this, 1, 2. They like to get adjacent to other monsters. Now let's see what the hybrid is gonna do. 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, equally distance, but we already said this lady has a wound, so he will go for her. So again, he wants to push other monsters, so I can go like, and he wants to go shorter way, because 1, 2, 3, 4 is better than 1, 2, 3. Well, actually it's equal, so he can even do this. Now let me check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he can get up to here, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and now he pushed this guy, and this lady is attacked again. So basically the monsters are moving toward other monsters. They want to be adjacent to them, they want to push them, so you get like surrounded. Okay, so that's the, I think, most difficult way for some people to be able to understand. So I would suggest the most like experienced player just push these monsters around. After that goes the dread phase. During the dread phase, you're gonna check how many dread you have here. Let's say we have a 3. Oh, by the way, during the monster phase, cultists also do some stuff. Let's say we have something like this. You're gonna check how many cultists you have on the board. For each 2 cultists, you're gonna add 1 dread here. Okay, so cult is basically rising dread. Some other things that rising dread is, if investigator dies, you push the doom 1 space to 0 and add 1 dread. If witnesses escape or dies, you add 1 dread also. And there are some effects on these cards that will also add dread. So you check for each 2 cultists, you add a dread. During a dread phase, you check this little table here. Now I have 3 dread. Okay, with the 3 dread, 1 cultist is gonna spawn. You can choose where, lead investigator can choose, so let's say here, and 1 deep one will also spawn. Deep ones always spawn in this Tongue of Sand district. It's the closest to the sea. I changed that, so before you have to draw a card, but now it's actually just take a deep one and you spawn him, so he is the closest, on the closest spot of that district. So these are all the spots that belongs to the district. Okay, on the closest spot to the closest investigator. So it would be actually here, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is the closest spot to the bot investigator. So this is where he would spawn. Just spawn monsters by the dread or omen effect do not move. They just spawn there, and then later on they're gonna move. Once you resolve the dread, you remove all the dread, and then we go to the omen phase, where you just roll a die and move this that much spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the event. You draw a card for the event. Recession strikes. Discard all cards from a general store, and it's gonna be like that until the next upkeep phase. After the omen phase goes to the upkeep phase. During the upkeep phase, you're gonna first flip all of these monsters back. All the cards you use, let's say I had some kind of a tome I used, it was flipped back. You can also discard up to 2 cards from a general store to refresh the general store. So I can do something like this, and then everything's gonna be pushed like this. I get the new items. And I think that's all. And if there was some kind of effect that was lasted till the upkeep phase, it's gonna be gone. You probably want to keep these cards close by so you know which when they are active. Also, it says market districts needs to be filled. That event will, if the market districts, where is that? Market districts is the blue. If there are like empty spots here, I would refill them with these discovery tokens. It's still called mystery tokens in the TTS mode, but they're actually discovery tokens. All right. And from turn to turn, you will continue trying to gather enough clues and items. Like for instance, if you want to solve this mystery, you need a magical item. Let's check, is there any magical item? Item spell, item weapon, item curio. What is the magical one? Well, it's probably one of these. Let me show you. Probably gonna need artifact. Here is one magical item, magical. So you will have to have this in your inventory, and you will have to spend yellow, one any kind of color, purple and green. Whatever you spend, if it's the item from the general store, these blue with the blue backs, they go to the discard. If it's the artifact, they go to the bottom of the deck. It's just like constantly refreshing because there is a limited number of them, and so on and so on. Wounds also, when you draw all the wounds cards and you need to draw another one, just shuffle the wounds deck back, and you know. Same for the movement cards. If you use all of them, just shuffle them back and use them again. So, the beginning of the game, I forgot to tell you that each player is gonna draw 2 investigators. You choose one to play with, other one goes to the supply. And whenever someone dies, that player at the beginning of the next turn will take 1 investigator from the supply. If you can't do that, game ends immediately and you lost the game. If Doom gets to 0 and you didn't, you know, finish all the mystery and escape from, you lost the game. If you finish all the mystery and you try to escape and at least one of the investigator dies in that moment, you lost the game. And if there are 6 or more cultists on these buildings, you also lose the game. So you have to watch out because they're gonna spawn during the game. You have to, you know, keep their number under 6. And I think that explains the rest. There are some effects here that let me check. Here it says investigator as a group must discard 1 witness card. So as a group means all 4 of you should discard only 1 card if you have any. If you don't, nothing happens. Discard all cards, okay, that's a session. Investigator, okay, that's the same one. Here is one that increases the dread. It just said increase current dread by 2. If there are 2 or more cultists on the map, advance Doom by 1. So there are lots of these events that are gonna, depending how much cultists are on the map, will move Doom. This one moves Omen 3 spaces in any direction, then resolve it. Okay. Also, I forgot to tell you something. These icons here. So this spawns a deep one, and deep ones now always spawn in this section or district here, closest to the investigator. This means move Doom, advance Doom by 1. This spawns cultists. This is just event. And this is everybody lose 1 clue. If you can't lose a clue, add 1 dread here. So this is called amnesia. Okay, kind of lost, I don't know, memories. So that's how these omen works. What did I was trying to explain? Oh yeah, this symbol here, which represents the central symbol where the dread usually is. Whenever you have to resolve this symbol, this means that the last card, bottom card, mystery card, will go to the discard pile, and everything is going to be pushed downward like this. you're gonna check the icon of the discarded card, and you're gonna resolve that omen effect. So this will spawn a deep one. So these all spawn a deep ones. If this was the last one and discarded, you're gonna discard another one. So everything's gonna push them more, and so on and so on. So Dread will actually, you know, decrease the number of your mysteries. It's gonna push them out on the discard, and then it's gonna activate their bad effects, because each mystery card has a bad effect, as you can see. So you probably want to finish the bottom ones first if you can. Well, depending on items and clues you have. Let me think, did I forget anything? I think not. That's basically the game. I'm sure that people are gonna ask me more questions on BGG. I do write the rule book, but it's gonna take some time because it's really slow for me. It's just easier just to explain how everything works and do a playthroughs. Oh yeah, there are some event that's gonna cost blocking. Let me see. Come on, where are these? Okay, I have to search, it seems. Ah, here it is. It was the next card. All bridges are blocked till the end of the next upkeep phase. What this means is you cannot pass over the bridge. So if I'm standing here, I have to wait next turn, end of the next turn basically, to be able to move over the bridges again. If it happens that you on the bridge, when they are blocked, then your investigator cannot move. He will stay there. You can do all other actions. So if you have a spell that can, you know, save you, let's see, some kind of a spell that can move you around. Oh well, if you have money for taxi, that can save you. But basically you cannot move, but you can do all other actions. So you can call a taxi, you know, and then taxi is gonna save you. You can use a spell that's gonna teleport you or something, but you cannot move normally. And by the way, the bridges, the one thing the bridges have a different from the blocks, I totally forgot to explain that. You cannot do this. You cannot jump from one bridge to the other. You have to either, you know, go over to the block and around. So it is not possible to jump over the bridge. So monsters can move around, you know, through the river or whatever. But you actually have to go like this. So no jumping from bridge to bridge. This is not possible. Really important rule. That's what different the bridges from the blocks. Okay, there could still be discovery tokens on them, but if I want to pick this discovery token, I have to go 1, 2, 3 around, not jump from bridge to bridge. Okay, so that's also I forgot to tell. And I think that's it. Nothing more to say. As I said, if you have any questions, I'm gonna do another playthrough with I'm gonna try to find some people and play, you know, live or something like that. But it's really hard because, you know, it's not easy to find play testers on Tabletop Simulator right now. You have to beg on Discord. I wish I could play with some people from BGG, but it seems no one is in my time zone, or no one has a Tabletop Simulator, or no one knows how it works. While it's like the simplest tool to use, I think. Once you get used to it, it's the best tool to do your game prototypes that I know. Alright, that's gonna be that, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.